Let's discuss today's important current affairs. India and US is discussing bilateral trade agreement. Under this bilateral trade agreement, a lot of things are going on as per the negotiation team by India and US. And under that, maybe India and US is going to sign side letter. Yes, side letter agreement. So what is this side letter agreement? When two parties are in trade talks, they set the agenda. On this we are going to talk, negotiate and decide. So under this bilateral trade agreement, talks between India and US side have mentioned lot of issues related to non-tariff barriers. These non-tariff barriers have certain impact on the trade talks. In order to solve those issues between the trade talks, which may be not in the part of the agenda which is being discussed between India and US, they will come as a side. Means India and US have decided to discuss the trade related aspects on certain points, but US side have mentioned that there are certain things which are not mentioned here in this list, but still they are creating a problem. So when such scenario arises, then two parties who are in negotiation, they go and side on that particular issue separately rather than being the part of framework. And this process is called side agreement in the bilateral trade talks, which is maybe signed by India and US in ongoing bilateral trade negotiations. INSPACE stands for Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. It is a regulatory body in India to regulate space-related business in India. Recently, they have issued a tender for new initiative that stand for SABS. SBAAS. SBAAS stands for Satellite Bus as a Service. Satellite Bus as a Service. This is the new initiative started by INSPACE. So what is SBAAS and why it is significant? As I mentioned, SBAAS stands for Satellite Bus as a Service. So here, satellite bus. When a satellite is being launched to the rocket, in that rocket, there is an area or there is a space which is going to have all the scientific equipment, that is payload or the satellite is stored in that area. So the area in which the satellite is stored and other electronic devices are stored, which is supposed to be delivered in the space, that portion is called space satellite bus. That portion is called satellite bus. As of right now, most of the satellite bus used in India, they are being imported. So in this context, INSPACE want Indian private companies to develop indigenous satellite bus system so that our dependency on imports can be reduced. So in this context, this news is very important with respect to our space program. And India and ISRO, they are going to launch NISAR satellite next month, which is properly reported by all media outlets, and it is an important mission and one of the joint mission by ISRO and NASA. According to report of RBI, there is 29% decrease in LRS remittance. So what is this LRS remittance? Liberalized Remittance Scheme of RBI. Under this liberalized remittance scheme of the RBI, a person can remit up to $250,000 from India to outside and from outside to India for the purpose of travel and studies. And remittance is one of the important source of receiving foreign exchange. And in fact, India is a largest recipient of this foreign currencies. If we will compare India with other countries, India is the only country in the world who have received more than $100 billion as a remittance in last financial year, and India is on top of receiving this remittances. Remittances are the money which sent by the people to their near and dear to other country. So suppose an Indian who is living outside the India and he is sending his money which he is earning there to India for their near and dear, then this money will be called as remittance. Similarly, if any foreigner who is living in India and he is sending money from India to outside to their family and near and dear, then it will be called as outbound remittance. And India is the largest recipient of inbound remittance, and in last financial year, India has received more than $100 billion of foreign remittances, inbound remittances. Another feather in the cap. ISRO has successfully tested its second test of semi-cryogenic engine. What is semi-cryogenic engine? Semi-cryogenic engines are the engine who use oxidizer at cryogenic stage, whereas the other fuel is stored at normal temperature. Whereas in the cryogenic engine, both of the fuel and oxidizer is stored in a cryogenic stage, that is a very low temperature, and this is why fuel and oxidizer both are in the liquid stage, and it is one of the most complex technology to master to have a liquid fuel in the cryogenic stage. And these cryogenic engines are very important, especially when you are launching very heavy satellites and in the higher orbits. Only few countries have mastered this technology. ISRO is also gearing up for complete successful launch of a satellite by using semi-cryogenic engine. In this test of semi-cryogenic engine, ISRO has used liquid kerosene and oxygen as a oxidizer, whereas fuel was stored in a separate chamber. This technology provides a capability of cryogenic engine but at lower cost, because in cryogenic engine both fuel and oxidizer need to be stored at cryogenic stage, which is a complex and costly thing, whereas in comparison to semi-cryogenic engines we can store fuel in normal stage, whereas the oxidizer in the cryogenic stage.